August live streaming. Before we start, I'm going to introduce a game to you. We will randomly pick 5 winners, and each of you could win 10 USDT. What you need to do is just to screenshot the live stream, anything about the live stream, and then you post it on your Twitter, you hashtag ZORIX, you submit it to the Google form, and the form is in the link. The link is in the description. Sorry, my cat distracted me. So back to our topic. So we have all witnessed how traditional financial system they came a long way to shape how its regulations today. So like Securities Act of 1993 and Securities Exchange Act of 1934. It was in response to stock market crash in 1928 and followed by the Great Depression. So the 1993 Act was mandated companies to provide accurate financial information, and the Exchange Act is to oversee and regulate securities market. So in 1944, IMF and World Bank was established to promote international cooperation and financial stability, which indirectly influenced global stock market regulations. In 2000, we came along IOSCO, and then the most recent in 2010 in the United States, because of the dot-com bubble, we have the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and the Consumer Protection Act. But back to crypto, I think crypto for regulations is considered still in an infancy stage. And then somehow with all that is happening recently, I think it kind of causes some confusion, not just with the users, but there's some exchanges, like what to do or what not to do, because there isn't a centralized governance system for crypto. And because at the same time, crypto was meant to minimize centralized governance. So is it still crypto if we regulate it? And of course, we know that people who are trying to implement regulations are more like of the Web2 people. So, do you think it's right to use a Web2 template for Web3 financial infrastructure? Not too sure. So, today I have 3 speakers with me to discuss on the topic. First, I have Tom from IOTA. He's the head of legal and regulatory affairs. And then we have Ken from Lawyers. And then we have Stephen, our ZORIX intern. I'm sorry, are we hearing echo? Are we hearing echo? Now sounds okay, yeah? Okay, so before we start, can we let our speakers introduce themselves? First, let's have Tom from IOTA.
Thanks, YC. It's really nice to be here. My name is Tom Jansson. I work at the IOTA Foundation. So in case someone hasn't heard of IOTA before, the IOTA Foundation is a nonprofit foundation established really to support the development of the IOTA blockchain or DLT. And I work in the legal and regulatory team there, based in London. And happy to be here.
Thanks, Tom, for taking time to attend this live stream. And so, how about Ken from Moonverse?
Hi guys, I'm Ken. They call me the Moon Hunter. So I lead the community called the Moonverse, a group that help people with Web3. And my interest in Web3 began with Meta Coven, the person who spent like 69 million digital art piece. So I was one of the top 50 in the program by him and Nas Daily, and ranked #1 on Facebook, out of 7,500 people in the competitions. So at Moonverse, our goal is to create like a safe place where everyone can learn about Web3 and always update our community and help each other to learn more about these adoptions, because now it's like less than 5% people are onboarding. And we hope that when it grow until norm things, we'll be there as a benchmark, as a leader in the market. And good to be here. Thanks for inviting.
Thanks, Ken. Steven, how about you?
Hi, my name is Steven, also known as ZORIX intern on Twitter. I oversee all the marketing operations in ZORIX.
Steven is a shy guy.
Yes.
Okay. Before we even get into serious topic, I've been always I've always been very curious. Tom, could you please tell me what is the difference between a Web 2 and a Web 3 lawyer? Did you study something different?
No, I didn't study something about crypto. Unfortunately, I think crypto regulation is still so new that it isn't really, there aren't really programs about that. For me personally, how I ended up where I am right now is a personal interest in crypto. So I learned about Bitcoin and other crypto tokens in the 2017 bull market. My background is actually in intellectual property law. So I've always had an interest in sort of rights and property that's purely sort of intangible. Then I worked with some payment contracts, and I worked in gaming, which led me eventually to the IOTA Foundation in 2021. So
Okay.
I think regulation is still developing, and we're all learning every day. So there's a lot of regulation that is coming, and I think that's what really interests me in the industry, that it is developing so fast.
Okay, so do you need to know crypto to become a crypto lawyer?
I think it definitely helps, to know about DAOs and know about DeFi, and really to play around with it, like in your personal life as well. I think it helps to understand how it actually works.
Okay, but what is the everyday life of a crypto lawyer? Like, do you go to digital courts?
No.
You metaverse?
The courts are still actual real life courts. But what we do at the IOTA Foundation, we deal a lot with upcoming regulatory consultations. So if there's a new law that is being proposed, and we provide comments and provide the industry feedback about how it could work and how it would actually fit into the industry. We've seen that that's actually quite an important part of our work as lawyers, is to provide information and the industry perspective, because is still a lack of understanding of how the industry works, and how blockchain works, and how DAOs and DeFi work. So there's a lot of need for actually working with regulators, not just in Europe, but across the world.
Right, but until now, we have no strict rules on what could be done and what not. So, like when a lawyer is fighting, a criminal lawyer is fighting for a murderer, he opens up his law book and, act number, da, 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 da. But then, so what's going to happen in crypto? Because you cannot advise them like, oh, based on according to this law number section, blah, blah, blah. So how do you do the advising?
Yeah, it's really quite challenging. So it's because there aren't really clear rules that apply everywhere yet. Like it's really about risk management, and seeing, like, trying to interpret it, and looking forward. And I think everyone's seen a lot of challenges, especially in the US, with the enforcement actions recently, and the unclarity of what is a security. The SEC still thinks that tokens themselves can embody an investment contract, and representatives from the crypto industry, of course, think differently, but there is still unclarity about how to define these basic aspects of financial regulation, like a security. Like, can a token actually be an investment contract, and how do you define a security in this industry?
So you see, from what is happening recently with the exchanges and the regulators and the some of the digital assets, I believe they all do have their own legal team. So what went wrong, or what are the regulators trying to look out for?
I can start with this. I think it's a big topic. I mean, I think one of the things that really pushed regulators to become active, and actually provide regulation was the ICO boom in 2017. You saw in Europe, you saw the markets in crypto assets regulation really starting around that time. But I think what's really pushed these enforcement actions is the recent failures that we've seen. The FTX failure, and the Terra Luna collapse. I think that really sort of highlighted the need for regulators to actually do something, and I think that's what pushed these recent enforcement actions in the U.S.
Okay. So Ken, what do you think, like, on representing the community, how do you think with all this happening, is it affecting the confidence of the community? Is there any difference before and after?
I think that definitely they will be affected. Like most of my friends are out of crypto, even though they years back they do talks for Bitcoin, they sell mining machines, and they just say, "Nah, we are out from crypto." And that is a huge thing. Before all the FTX and all these things down, they already out. Then after the FTX, all this stuff, it actually somebody just did not trade and buy crypto, and they keep on see my content, then just say, aren't you feel tired? Everything is being bad. But in fact, when we are in the ecosystem, we already see a lot of big things is happening, like adoption from AVX is being adopted in the Amazon and Meta. Even though for Reddit they launched their NFTs, so there's millions and millions of people are into the ecosystem. And I felt that the most important thing that as a community, it's about educations. Everybody, they don't really bother much, but there's a few things that they are keen to know, like what is crypto, how can they invest and make money from it, will the regulatory and security are able to protect them. That's why, in fact, nowadays a lot of exchange they reach out to us, they wanted to share with our community, and their selling point is you don't need KYC. But nowadays, when any exchange come and pitch to me, say that, oh, we don't need KYC, I'll ask them to off you go. Because people get scared that, oh, don't need to be KYC. So how about AML, anti-money laundering? So these are things that is being evolved that nowadays, many people, they're not launch any rock project because blockchain is transparent. In fact, we are able to trace you even in the normal financial systems. And of course, with technology development and what is the future and trends that what are the people are looking into it. But most important is real world applications that people are thinking, like how these things works. I don't understand how Web3 will change our life. But this is the things that we wanted to share with them, that a lot of things that what we are doing right now are able to have real life applications. Like when we do a contract, we don't have to be there, but we are able to documentation down. We don't have to go face to face to meet a lawyer anymore. We can just launch a smart contract and you endorse, I endorse, buyer, seller, and you will be stored there forever. So those are the things that is happening. Then this is what we need to be taking care. But what we can see is a lot of things that is getting better. The only way to launch more adoptions, I believe, definitely is like when there is more regulations that running and protect us, especially like when people say that, oh, we hate the regulations, people, we want decentralized, we don't want centralized. But in fact, when FTX case happened, people misuse of funds, running away with millions of dollars fraud, people will say, where are the police are doing? So those are the things that I think that regulatory coming is good, but when we see all the CBDCs is quietly launched with the banks and projects that are building on it, I think that it will be a good, because crypto Web3 is a technology involvement. It's not like whether are we going to kick out the government, still will be the same pool of 20% people are ruling the space, because the economic holding it will be an issue. So that is why we must be very firm to take care of our community, and that is our goal, to make sure everybody know all these things. That's why nobody can buy us to say something that is not right. Yeah.
So you think the community prefer regulations or not?
I won't say that will they prefer or don't prefer, because first off, they don't understand the whole technologies, so they couldn't say that. Some of the people run out to crypto, they hate the governments, they hate the fiat systems. Nothing wrong. So majority people will still don't agree with the regulations for sure, but because they don't understand. So normal human being will demonize everything when things are happen, like AI, all the stuff, because they don't understand, they will demonize it. But when they realize, then they will know that actually, the government and all these things, we talk about good governments, they wanted to make the ecosystem well for the people that don't get scammed. So I think that's the main majority like on the perspective of rule point of view, but for community wise, that's our job to let them know that actually they are protecting us, and we just need to hold our own funds with our own custodial, So that is the key thing, like holding ourselves in charge of our own assets. I think that is the key thing that we want decentralized.
Mm-hmm. So Stephen, you have been doing crypto for a very, very long time.
Yep.
Like how long?
I've been trading since 2 years plus 3 years back.
Okay. So do you think crypto is still crypto if it's regulated?
I would say half because that time when I started crypto, I was introduced by my friend of NFTs. I started off from NFTs, and everyone in the crypto space, NFT space, they prefer to stay anonymous because of maybe their personal identity or their fortunes. Because back then when NFTs was booming, all these people made a lot of money, so they prefer to stay anonymous. Yep.
So you think is you don't mind if we are regulated?
As a trader's perspective, I would prefer regulated exchange so that we can be protected if anything happens.
Okay. And then in terms of product, is there any difference when you are planning for product features? Because in the past, it would be very much on what do the users like. But now there's one more element, and is what do the regulators do not like? So is there any differences when you are doing products now?
Yeah, back then, I think a lot of people when they decide on which exchange or product to use, they prefer to stay anonymous. Like I said just now, so they prefer no KYC, like they don't have to submit their identification and stuff. But I think in recent cases, I think people are getting more. They prefer it to be regulated, but not too strict, so that they can trade more comfortably.
Okay, but maybe you want to share with us, like, why do we need to do KYC?
Yeah, because KYC, from what I know, KYC is you submit your identification to the product team, and then they will, of course, they will keep your identity data in their database, and then
Anti-money laundering.
yeah, anti-money laundering is one thing, but then
I think that
for
sometimes.
me,
Yeah.
yep.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry. No, I'm just saying sometimes KYC, all these things is not we want or we don't want, is we die need to have by the regulations, right?
Yeah, even like KuCoin just announced that all their users need to be KYC. Yeah.
I think it's a form of like yes, it is important for compliance, but yeah, KYC sometimes is troublesome, and but I think it's still necessary lah. Because if not, then we don't want our platform to be like who's dealing with what. Yeah. So, but then maybe any one of you would like to share, like, what do you think the regulators are really looking out for?
I can start from like a regulatory perspective. I think well, you just mentioned KYC. I think that's one of the cornerstones that is part of the traditional financial regulations and is being also expanded into the crypto industry. But maybe just to touch on the points that Ken and Stephen raised earlier about trading on a regulated exchange, I think there are a lot of benefits there as well. And I think regulators and policymakers see that there is a need for ensuring that the exchanges have internal control functions, that there are teams within the exchanges that try to prevent conflicts of interest and ensure that the customer funds are segregated and they are protected. And I think that's what comes with regulation, that you have to actually ensure that the exchanges have internal procedures and internal functions that actually protect consumers. And I think we all can agree that that's a benefit for traders as well.
But the thing is that they do not have a centralized system for regulations. So it could be quite costly and tiring for an exchange to have license like in every country. And every country has different rules, and we just got confused. And every time when we want to have a license, we have to hire a compliance officer from that country. It's really costly, and it's very
Absolutely.
cumbersome. Yeah. So, do you think? Oh, yes.
No, yeah, I absolutely agree. I think the compliance costs are something that is a big problem, and I think it's sort of a problem also, or symptom of this fragmented market. We have different countries that have taken very different approaches to regulating crypto. If you just compare, for example, the US with the very harsh enforcement actions recently, and unclarity about what they see as a security and whether the tokens themselves are securities, and contrast that to, for example, Europe with the recent MiCA regulation. One asset can be a security in one jurisdiction and something else in a different jurisdiction. And of course, that creates a lot of complexity and fragmentation in the market. And I think that raises compliance costs, that you have to, play with all these different rules, and there's unclarity about how to treat them in different markets. So I think what we need is really sensible regulation that is sort of looks at how the industry works, and looks at the centralized aspects of the industry, and where there are centralized aspects, how are those centralized aspects mitigated? Because there are risks in centralization as well. I think for example, in the use of customer funds and the protection of customer funds, how can we ensure that those centralized features are, and the risks that come with them, are mitigated and are actually that we protect users?
Okay. What about Ken? What do you think? Do you think you want to let the Web2 guys do the Web3 regulations?
I think that it's not. To be honest, I think that's the certain fundamental that why we hate the fiat system, because of corruptions, because of fraud, because it's like inconsistent, and of course the centralized control, that the things are getting more and more out of control. The money were getting worse and worse, and it doesn't make sense because you need to print a lot of printing costs for the money itself. Because digital payment is also one thing, even though for US they actually come out with Fed now. A lot of people still scratching their head that why would we need a Fed now when we can have all this. But this is something that revolutions that payment system can go 24/7. That's what crypto are so attractive for most of us, that if I want to transfer $1 million to a friend at London, it's only costs like 1 minute and very little money compared to the original financial systems. So I think that is the motivations that why XRP, all these projects they are building to bridge the difference. So for me, it's like there's a lot of talent and everything is the same, whether be it Web 2 or Web 3. The only difference is the use case. The only difference is the technology itself. How are we going to make it norm things? Like now I store my data is much cheaper than a traditional way. I don't have to depend on those big server. When they go down, I need to spend few thousand or 10,000 or millions dollars to maintain it. I can just store it on blockchain. It's much cheaper. So I think that is very bright because people don't know and hardly people are using. We need Web 2 people to come in. That's how Web 1 to Web 2 and Web 2 to Web 3. So I think that definitely more people come in, no matter how, when the adoption go up to 80%, 90%, we need those Web 2 people are coming in. It's just that we have more say and the power to influence them. The reason part of it, one thing they are protecting us, that is official. On the other side is they want to hold the power, so they cannot distribute the power, they want to hold, and that's the corruptions come here. That's how decentralized will, they do not have that power to be controlled, but we can vote like using a DAO system. We can vote for something else. So those are the technology involvement that things will happen, and they are scared, but they cannot stop it because getting more and more big boys are coming in. BlackRock, Vanguard, all these players are coming in. There's all the money coming, and they are identify all these things. It's just that it might be a different ball game. So we just need to understand the rules. Don't skip, don't run, don't demonize, and learn and adopt it, and see how we can treat it better and fairly for our communities. Yeah.
Okay. So, Stephen, do you think that what are the kind of like implications that might cause to the crypto market with all these increasing regulations?
I think this is quite straightforward. It's because of all the scams, all the rug pulls, and all this money laundering. Yeah. But I think that in my opinion, I prefer all the Web 2 people to control, to start the foundation, the regulation foundation of Web 3. Because like in the US, if I'm not mistaken, they legalize money laundering. It's called lobbying. Yeah, Tom, did I say it right?
I didn't know about that. They legalize? You mean they legalize money laundering?
Yeah, I think it's called lobbying, and then you have to I think you have to pull out all the numbers for them to see. Am I right, Tom?
I think, yeah, I mean, lobbying is definitely, something that is quite a big part of the regulatory process. But I think it's not necessarily bad that the crypto industry does lobbying. I think what we need to do is really work with regulators to make sure that the regulatory frameworks that are being introduced are fit for purpose, that they actually fit into the crypto industry. I think hopefully we can take advantage of the decentralized aspects that are so good in crypto, self-custody or immediate execution of transactions, and fit that into a regulatory framework that actually works for crypto. I think the problem with what we've seen in the US now and to some extent in other jurisdictions as well is this tendency to try to fit crypto into existing regulation without actually seeing that it actually works. You can't just put a crypto exchange into existing regulation without actually providing guidance on how it should comply with existing laws. And I think that's the problem that we've faced, that we try to shoehorn it into existing laws without actually making laws that are fit for purpose.
All right. So for now, we shall open the floor to answer the questions submitted by the users. But before that, let me repeat. You could potentially win yourself USDT $10 when all you need to do is just to screenshot the live stream, post it on your Twitter and hashtag ZORIX, ZORIX. At the same time, submit it to the Google form. And I think the link is in the description. So first question, how can we strike a balance absolute decentralization and government regulations? I think how can we strike a balance between decentralizations and government regulations? who would like to take this question? What about Ken?
I think the lawyer will be the best person to answer that.
Okay, Tom, what do you think?
Sure. I think we need to take sort of a broad look at, their centralization isn't necessarily bad. It's quite convenient to, trade on a centralized exchange. But with that comes some risks as well. For example, how the client funds are stored. And I think there needs to be a balance there. I think what the regulatory approach should be maybe to recommend like best practices, using cold storage to secure customer funds and having internal control functions to ensure that, that funds aren't being misused or siphoned off somewhere else. I think that's sort of a good approach to having using the decentralized aspects and protecting from the centralized aspects. What I would say though is also to ensure that we keep the self-hosted wallets and the ability to actually interact with self-hosted wallets and make payments with those. I think that's important as it is, it's something that didn't exist before, and it's a useful tool for actually protecting your assets.
Okay, thank you. So the next question. What are the measures taken by crypto exchanges to protect themselves and users from harsh regulations? I think, Steven, you can take the question, right?
Yes, Ken. The way we do to protect our users and their funds is that we provide the KYC and AML, of course, and we also try to make sure that the wallet provider is trustable and notable, so that we know that the user's funds, where is it stored, and is it being used elsewhere and stuff. And also, of course, like Tom said, we also try our best to store our users' fund in a cold wallet. Yep.
Okay. Okay, and the next question is, what is the next goal for regulation and crypto exchange in future? I think Tom should take this.
I think what we've seen now is we've seen the anti-money laundering rules being sort of extended to crypto. I think the next step will be really to roll out licensing regimes and maybe having more harmonized, hopefully more international collaboration and harmonization about how to interpret these key aspects like securities. Beyond that, I think what is on the horizon is DeFi regulation. There's a lot of regulators are currently looking into DeFi and thinking of if and how it should be regulated. What are the protection mechanisms that could be introduced there? What are the liabilities of DeFi projects? I think that's an area that is going to be in the focus in the future.
I think I can add on something on that as well. I do have some thinking. First of all, is of course we need to establish like what was saying that the global regulatory frameworks, it's gonna be borderless, so that everybody can jump into the system. I think that the next thing is like everybody, like our community always asks this question: the clarity of the tax implications. Do we need to pay tax? So if the crypto exchange really help us to do that, I think there will be a huge win, or on different kind of approach that we've been educated. Yeah, of course, another thing that very, very hype question is we need to recognize it and categorize different crypto assets. Even though they are security tokens or they are non-security token. I think that's very important.
All right, and then we have the next question is, how can investors and traders stay informed about regulatory status of different crypto exchanges? Ken, would you answer on behalf of the community?
Yeah, I think this is what we I will always say that all the crypto dudes are lazy. They don't watch the news. Like today, 26,000 Bitcoin crash. or just boom, 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 boom. What happened? What happened? What happened? What is going on? There's a lot of speculations, like because Tesla was selling a lot of their Bitcoin today, of their holding on 2021 and 2022. But this might be just part of it, because everything will just get liquidated. So I think that a lot of things that is to find a few places to learn. Like that's why a lot of crypto exchange, that they have their own information area. Like I see ZORIX was very good, always update in their social media that what is the new hype coin, what's the meme coin, and what is this, what is that. So I think that user will appreciate that an exchange, a place that we can go and see what's happened. I think shout out to the team. Of course, join a crypto community like the Moonverse, like us, that we are here not to make money from our community, but we contribute to the ecosystem. And of course, this type of seminar and webinar, it's very good, because we can learn some of the lawyer mindset, the exchange point of view, the developer products areas, that what they can do and what are the updates that we have. Now, of course, regulations bodies, it's still not consistent. You only update when you see a big news that somebody will get caught frauding 1.8 million today in Singapore news. So when this situation come out, I think that the community will just like, oh, what is happening? And then they will start demonizing them. That's why we need to have all this. Then, of course, we need more legal expert jump into the crypto space and share with us the bridging of the traditional world and what is happening on the real world assets and how it's going to bridge for more use case. So I think this is very important to get informed and get updates.
By the way, so 10 were caught in Singapore, right? I think 8 or 9 were caught in Australia.
Yeah, just
Right.
yeah, and just very daring. I just say all these people, yeah.
Yeah, they're daring, but the money. I saw the money and I was like, oh, okay. We have the last questions from the community, and that is it important to carry out regulations first, so that everything can be safe and secure on the crypto exchange? I think for this question, I would like to hear it from the perspective of the crypto exchange, and the legal perspective, and the community perspective. So shall we start with Steven?
Okay, so for the exchange perspective, of course, the regulation should be done first in order to protect our users' fund, but also too much regulation can scare away users. So we here is trying our best to balance it out both ways, so we can educate the users and tell them what should they do, what should they not do, and also like help them to protect their funds.
Okay. What about the lawyer?
I think it's you can have both. It's not one or the other necessarily. Like industry players can take steps already to actively implement measures and procedures to protect customers and user funds. I think we do need clear regulations. That also helps the business to focus on the business and not just be in the dark. But I think I think industry players have a big role to play here, that actually having those procedures in place to ensure internal review and compliance, and ensure customer protection.
What about the community?
Yeah, I think that most important it's how they get started in the crypto world. I think that's the education part, that what we always do. That's why we also love to work with exchange and product service provider, because we want somebody to help us to help our community. So that there's a lot of like rug pull project. We really know that, oh, you don't want to show face, you don't even want to zoom, then you want to give me money to shield your product. It's a no for us. That we also will tell our community this is a sponsored video or sponsored informations, because we want to be fair with our community. Then the challenge that the people that are facing, and what have we learned from them, like the past informations, like what FTX cases, all these stuff that I think that is very important. Then last but not least is the real world application. Sorry, my screen just ran out. Yeah, it's about real world applications, because the only adoptions is like people can see and feel it, then they will start to believing, then they will start to jump into the ecosystem. It's just like a country suddenly pop up, you tell them that, oh, my money is worth $10 USD than your currencies, but what are the ecosystem that you are building it? If they are not having sectors like finance, healthcare, entertainment, or investment, and anything that having a real world assets, nobody will believe on it. But if there's more assets built on it, like Amazon, Meta, all the big brands are coming in. So I think that will be a very strong engine for the community to pump in, and okay, we should just jump into an ecosystem. Just like when nobody is using smartphone, mobile phone, everybody's still using pager. Why they want to move it? Because my friend are using a mobile phone. I want to keep contact with them. So when there's more real assets application is coming out, I think that people just jump into it. Like my friend, some people left, some people just follow. Then they will start learning together and hang out together for that.
But that would be more for stable coins or the government's recognized stable coin, right? What do they call it? Is it the CBDC?
CBDCs, yeah.
So what's going to happen to these meme coins and alternate coins?
I think it's still like an ecosystem. Like for example, Shiba, they actually built some ecosystem like virtual world, swap. So some people will build project on there. So like I said, if there's more use case, gaming, especially like a gaming token, to me, if I don't play that game, it's useless to me.
Right.
But if they are building an ecosystem, people are moving into it. But why people are targeting gaming people into the system? Because there's a huge market. People spend and spend. They don't care about, can I make money? I just want to have fun. Those are the things that they are building, that kind of fundamental. But again, like CBDC, it's just a form of transactions, like the borderless and stuff like that. They are able to easy to control you. Whatever things that we do, anything that is being taxed is called legalized. Anything that I don't get taxed, you guys are doing illegal stuff. Agree or not? Like, yeah, that's why they are scared that they want to move into decentralized, because decentralized already powerless your power. The people in the ecosystem have the power to decide anything. But we do also saw community voting power end up doesn't work well as well. So sometimes you still need some professional people, but it's hard to control, because just like politicians, sometimes you vote for the people, they will just rug you. So it's still the same thing, because it's a human nature. It's just that the system, whether good or bad, I think that the powerless things, it will adjust from there, because it will be fair. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Okay, we finally have a lot of people coming in. Are you guys like late or what? Remember the wrong timing, is it?
It's a Friday.
Friday, yeah. So then in the end, the community manager go and force them to come. Okay, so yeah, I think Ken is quite bold in his expressing. So I need to make a disclaimer. Our speakers opinions and what they and their speeches do not represent ZORIX.
Non-financial advisor.
I've been warned many times before today. I have to be very careful about what I say. Yeah, of course, and the above does not mean any encouragement in investment or anything. You really need to do your own research and invest within your own means. And so I think after speaking to the three speakers, I have this conclusion that we still need regulations. No doubt the mechanism and the infrastructure can be decentralized, but we still need regulations to regulate them. But somehow or other, I think that there is a gap. It's a generation gap. When it comes to Web 2 and Web 3, it's a generation gap. I think I can understand that well, because I'm an old granny. I mean, in crypto space, I'm an old granny. So at times I could see things like, why did you do this? So I think it's a generation gap. I don't want to call it a generation war. It's a generation gap. So I think the Web 2 and the Web 3 needs to hold hand together, and they need to work out together in order to allow mass adoption. They need to see the goodness in each other, and we need to move on with times. But we need to embrace what the infrastructure had built throughout the years, and that's safety, security, and that's regulations, right? And so, industry players also needs to take their initiatives, I think. Yeah, so last but not least, I think we should give the opportunity to our speakers, to promote their products and services or themselves. So maybe we can start from Tom, because I know IOTA is a wonderful layer one. And, yeah, because that's zero fees, all right. And I'm not too sure about the layer 2. So, and I know you have a token.
We do, yes. So the IOTA Foundation, we're working on bringing new features to the mainnet. We also have a test net. It's called the ShimmerNet, and on that one we're very close to bringing out the Shimmer EVM, which will bring new features and new usability to the network. If you want to find out more about the IOTA Foundation and what we're building, you can check us out on iota.org or on X at IOTA, and join our Discord for more discussion.
All right. So would you repeat the link again? It's IOTA, IOATA.org.
Correct. Yeah, iota.org. Yeah.
Okay, so it's IOATA.org. So IOTA is zero fees, okay? And Ken from Moonverse, he's a very aspiring crypto. He advocates a lot for crypto safety. So maybe Ken can tell us more about your futures for Moonverse.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks for having this opportunity to join this talk. It's really very insightful. For me, we actually run Moonverse. So our main goal is to, bridging the Web 2 to Web 3, onboarding more human to Web 3, so that we make content and share insider news, and of course educate them for more. And for us, we always community first, because we wanted to build something for them. That's why we are planning to create our own dApps to let them to have an experience, to have more use case. That's our main goal. That's why we will get some partnerships or collaborations with blockchain, or even though for use case, like you probably can use our dApps and payment on a restaurant, who knows, but that's what our goals, that we want to make it very the real world applications, and at the same time is more adoptions and let people to know about Web3, how would it change the current lifestyle that we have, what are the effectiveness and stuff like that. So that's what Moonverse do, and community first and products is always the second, and we always open for collaborations with good people. That's our main goal. We want to have good partners to help our community to grow as well. So yeah, that's about it. If you want to find out more, just go to www.themoonverse.io.
www.themoonverse.io. All right. And so Steven, he I think he's a genius in crypto. So projects that wants to rug pull on ZORIX, no way. Because Steven does all your KYC and AML research and checkings before he allowed the projects to go listed. And and nothing escaped his eyes and his research. So he's going to have a YouTube program, and that's ZORIX Oracle. He'll be sharing a lot on project reviews on a very neutral basis. No projects can dictate us; they don't pay us. And then he's not able to give crypto signals, because he works for an exchange. But he would be very much happy to teach you trading in terms of technical analysis. So stay tuned to Steven. And Steven, you want to shout out for yourself?
Yeah, or you also can follow me at X. They call it X nowadays, not Twitter. Yeah, at ZORIX Intern.
Okay, so yeah, please follow Steven on ZORIX. Is his sorry, on X, and it's called ZORIX Intern. All right. Okay. Once again, thanks to all our speakers for tonight. It's really great. I think we have a great conversation. So till the next time.
Thank you so much.
Take
Thank
care.
you. Bye bye.
Bye
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.